I'm CEO of Clean Sea Seafood. It's a great pleasure to be speaking to you today. Thank you very much for attending. We're very excited to be out telling our story ahead of our launch and flotation on Euronext growth. And as a global company, we're very excited to be telling our story in what we believe to be the most sophisticated and informed aquaculture market in the world up there in Norway. I'm speaking today from Adelaide in South Australia, which is where we farm our fish. And I might start with a short video before we get into the presentation.
This is the story of one fish and how it grows from an egg to a hatchling and into arguably the best raw fish in the world, the mighty Spencer Gulf Hiramasa kingfish. Our story starts in Arno Bay, where life begins for one fish.
Our baby fish, they mean a lot to us. We have to put a lot of care and nurturing time into these little fish to make sure they flourish. You want to give them the best possible start in life, like it was your own child.
Now that it's starting to grow, it's time for our fish to move homes. It's whisked away to a pen in the pristine waters of South Australia's Spencer Gulf. Our team of experts are passionate about ensuring the fish will grow to its full potential.
What makes the water so special here is its proximity to the ocean. So there's a constant movement of oceanic water coming into the Gulf, and the Gulf is huge. It's over 300 kilometers across. And then if you couple that with the fact that we don't have a lot of rainfall here in South Australia, and when you don't have rainfall, you just don't have all of the organic materials, all of the herbicides, pesticides, the things that can come from land farming, they're just not here. You know, we have a duty of care to really ensure that these animals stay in really good condition, genuinely healthy and strong throughout the production cycle. And then we've kind of got this sort of macro challenge of making sure that the feed we're using is sustainable, so that we take care of the planet, we take care of our fish, and we end up with a great product at the end of it.
Any regional city would be very excited about having an operator like Clean Seas in their town. What sets us apart is that it's clean seawater, it's unpolluted, and it gives rise to a product that is, just by eating it, you can taste that it's come from somewhere pure. Well, it starts with the land. There are no rivers. It's limestone country. The rainfall that does fall soaks straight into the ground and goes into underground aquifers. No rivers, no pollution, clean seas. Actually be a good name for a company, wouldn't it?
After 2 years of constant care, our fish is ready. Ready for chefs to prepare in the finest restaurants around the world. It will be headed to Europe, the United States, China, Australia, or somewhere in between.
A chef can take the approach to a whole large fish, and many restaurants are finding that they can utilise the fish in 3 different ways, 4 different ways, which increases the value of the fish for them. And when you're going into a kitchen situation and you're trying to hit the financial KPIs, it's pretty important to find a product that's going to add value for you.
So on goes the journey of our kingfish. Next stop, the finest restaurants in the world.
I love the texture, it's firm. It's almost like, I wouldn't say al dente, but it's almost like it gives you a bit of a bite, and it's not mushy, and the little bit of fat under the skin, that it's almost like, and I love saying this because it's comparable to the fat in the prosciutto, it's the flavor that you need, in fish like this. So, I love it.
So this fish, which started as a hatchling, has grown and grown to become one of the world's finest fish. Powerful in the sea, delicate on the plate. This is arguably the best raw fish in the world.
So we are a global leader in the full cycle farming and breeding and farming of yellowtail kingfish. We're comfortably the largest producer outside of Japan, and we'll produce something like 3,000 tonnes this year, which makes us 5 or 6 times the size of the second largest producer. We've been doing this for a long time. We have 20 years of experience in farming this species, and we're in our 13th generation of fish. We have unprecedented and unparalleled access to markets and channels. We have market leadership position in Australia and Europe, and we have very sophisticated partners in Asia and in North America, which I'll speak to. We have a unique global strategic partner in Hofseth, which I'll talk about. I'll also talk about our natural provenance. We farm a native species in its native waters in South Australia, and that gives us a tremendous advantage in terms of quality of product, sustainability of production. We are very highly awarded. We have a unique product which is positioned in many Michelin star restaurants around the world, and our fish is renowned for its firmness of flesh and its quality, which we believe you can only get growing in cold water. I'll also talk today about our sustainability and environmentally friendly credentials and our focus on animal welfare, our sustainability certifications, and our provenance. We see the market for this species growing substantially over a number of years, and we see strengthening in price point. Through COVID and through launching in new channels and markets, we have been very aggressive on price, but we see the ultimate potential for this species in terms of the revenue per kilo continuing to grow over a number of years. We also see Clean Seas as the lowest cost producer in time as well. We have the benefits of scale, we have the benefits of low capital costs, and we have the benefits of low production and lease costs, which means that in time we'll also be the lowest cost producer. And if you think about our cost of capital, unlike land farms, we don't have the large expense of tanks and water heaters and filters. And we also, unlike salmon farming, don't have the expense of marine licenses. And indeed, we can expand our production at less than $1 per kilo in terms of cost of capital. And that's very exciting for us because at the moment, as I said, we produce 3,000 tonnes, but we have existing licenses in place and the capability in place to triple that level of production to 10,000 tonnes. And then by continuing to farm in the waters of Spencer Gulf, we can triple that production again to 30,000 tonnes, which is really exciting for us as this species grows. We produce a unique, high quality product. It's highly awarded for its quality. It means that we can position ourselves in the top restaurants all around the world. We have sustainability credentials, and we have a global distribution in Hofseth, which we believe will take us on step changes in distribution over the next few years. What we've seen, I think, in this species and over a number of years is really an emergence of a desire by consumers and a search for consumers for sustainable protein, for healthy eating, and really understanding where their food is coming from to ensure that it is sustainable, it is environmentally friendly, and that those fish were produced in a very focused way in terms of animal welfare. We also see this species as enormous opportunity with regard to an alternative for farm salmon. And we believe that our species, Seriola landi yellowtail kingfish, competes very well with farm salmon in terms of sustainability, competes very well in terms of quality, and really is a very flexible product in terms of being able to be eaten raw, cooked, fried, or baked. It is truly a remarkable fish with great potential. Clean Seas is uniquely positioned to take advantage of this growth. We are the largest producer outside of Japan at the moment. We have unrealized potential in terms of marine leases to really be the market leader in this growth as this species continues to develop. As I said before, we have all of the factors in place that will let us do that. We have industry-leading production experience in terms of the number of fish that we've already farmed and the generations and life cycle that we've farmed. We have control over our value chain and market leadership positions in the top-end restaurants in Europe and in Australia. And we have a distribution partnership with Hofseth, which will let us access North America and Asia. So we're truly a global business in terms of our distribution and our unparalleled access to markets. I'll talk a little bit later about our cold water production and the benefits of farming this fish in its native environment and what that gives us in terms of product quality, and why that is important, not only for restaurants, but also in retail. And if I talk about our supply chain, I'll talk about our exclusive access to freezing and defrosting technology, which really lets us get this Spencer Gulf provenance, this highest quality fish, into markets all around the world at a low cost and with a low carbon footprint. This business has a very experienced management team, a very experienced board with background in agriculture and aquaculture. And really, we've been able to structure the business to deliver a low cost, and we've taken a lot of cost out of the business. We have a strategic partnership in Hofseth, which I'll talk about in a moment. So as I said before, Clean Seas has market leading positions in both Australia and in Europe. And really in Australia, we are the monopoly player. Very much all of the farmed kingfish in Australia comes from Clean Seas. And so we've done a very good job growing awareness of this species and per capita consumption of this species from 26 grams per person per year to 80 grams per person per year. We've also seen this species emerge, particularly in North America, and awareness of this species grow in North America in sushi trains as part of the sushi revolution, and also in Asian cuisine, particularly the influence of Japanese cuisine on the West Coast. And we've seen per capita consumptions nearly double in that period in North America. But if you think about Europe, which is our second largest market outside of Australia, the per capita consumption in Europe is still very low, still only 10 grams per person per year, which shows the huge potential that this species has as awareness grows and as it does become something that people sort of look for when they're sort of shopping. But even that 80 grams in Australia, which is the largest per capita consumption outside of Japan, is still very low in the scheme of things. In Japan, they eat something like 1,000 grams per person per year. And if you compare that 80 grams per person per year, it's really only half of a main course per person if you think about a 150 gram portion as a center plate opportunity. And so comparing that to Atlantic salmon per capita consumption in North America at 1,500 grams and in 2,300 grams in Europe, you really do get a sense for how much opportunity there is for this species as awareness grows. And so while we've seen substantial growth over a number of years for this species, it's still only a niche product, and the opportunity for this species is enormous all around the world. So for Clean Seas, COVID-19 was very disruptive. Prior to COVID, 90% of our business was into premium restaurants in Australia and in Europe. And as a result of those COVID disruptions, we ended up with something like 1,600 tonnes of surplus inventory on our balance sheet. Now, while that's a problem for us in terms of cost of production, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the future, it's also been a really unique opportunity for us to use that surplus inventory to drive entry into new markets and new channels. So we've been able to go into these new markets and channels and talk to distributors and say, we've got this fish readily available. And what we've seen as a result is record sales for Clean Seas and substantial growth in distribution, even through the pandemic, which has been, truly remarkable, but a great indication of how strongly and how well regarded this species is, and the opportunity for this species. Once people try it and once consumers try it, they tend to keep coming back and ordering it again. A big part of that expansion has been through a partnership with Hofseth International. So many people on the call will be familiar with Hofseth as a full life cycle breeder and farmer of Atlantic salmon up there in Norway. They're also a substantial processor and one of the largest distributors of Atlantic salmon into North America. And so we have a unique and mutually beneficial partnership with Hofseth, who've come in and taken an equity position in Clean Seas. So they're our number 2 shareholder on the register. We see Hofseth as a unique partnership in terms of our ability to plug kingfish in to their existing distribution of Atlantic salmon in North America and quickly achieve high levels of volume and tremendous volume growth. And in fact, we've already sold 400 tonnes to Hofseth as part of this relationship. But it's a mutually beneficial relationship. We have great alignment in terms of how we go farming, in terms of the full life cycle breeding and farming a high quality product, farming in a way that is very respectful of the species to deliver a low cost of production. And so, great alignment with our two businesses in terms of how we are presenting to market. And Hofseth have done a really, really good job presenting our fish in these new channels and markets, talking about many of the attributes that I'll talk to you about today. So high quality, South Australian provenance, cold water quality, sustainably produced and sustainably distributed. And you'll see in some of this imagery how good a job they've done, packaging our fish and presenting our fish in these new markets and channels. And so, the story of Clean Seas is not just about new distribution, it's also about a rebound in our existing channels and markets as the world recovers. And so you'll see here in the graph in the top right-hand corner, as we entered the pandemic and those markets shut down, we saw a substantial reduction in our sales as the restaurants shut and as international sort of freight lines contracted. But many of the things that we had on our strategic roadmap were able to implement very quickly, and we're able to push into new channels and markets within Europe and within Australia. And what we've seen is as the restaurants have reopened and as economies have opened up, all of those new markets and channels and that new distribution that we've built has stayed, and the new restaurants and the restaurants have come back, meaning that we've had incremental sales. And really since October last year, as a result of this diversification, we've actually been achieving sales in excess of pre-COVID levels. And in the last couple of months, we've seen some record sales numbers. So we're on track to grow this business from pre-COVID levels by circa 20%. We see some tremendous, record sales coming through, which gives us great confidence and reinforces our confidence in the species. But it also shows that the opportunity for Clean Seas is twofold. It's continuing to build and develop our existing channels and existing markets, and to build on that with new distribution through our partners with Offset. And obviously the world reopening and increase in sort of salmon prices just makes us more and more competitive and more sort of, I guess, belief in the opportunity that we have in this species. So what we've been able to do as a business is really become much more efficient in terms of our working capital as a result, and also grow our sales substantially. So in the first week of April, we already exceeded last year's total sales of 2,400 tonnes, and we're on track to deliver sales in excess of 3,000 tonnes this year on the back of record sales in March and very strong sales in April and already in May. And so I guess the business has rebounded very strongly despite ongoing disruptions in COVID through the pandemic. And as Europe reopens and as we continue to develop our new markets in Asia and in North America, we see substantial growth and opportunity for this species. And so all of that means that from our existing 3,000 tonnes, if we continue to do what we do and do it well in our premium restaurant business and through our distribution partnerships and leverage our market leading position, we see in the not too distant future a trebling of demand for this species from 3,000 tonnes to 10,000 tonnes. And then as awareness of the species grows and as it does become a viable alternative for farmed salmon, we see a trebling again from 10,000 tonnes to 20,000 tonnes to 30,000 tonnes. And that's particularly exciting for Clean Seas because we already have the licenses in place and the infrastructure in place, so that really as at today, we can triple our level of production from 3,000 tonnes to 10,000 tonnes and be the first mover and the first to take advantage of increases in this demand for this species without the requirement for significant levels of investment in terms of capital and in terms of additional marine licenses. But as you saw in the video, Spencer Gulf is an enormous volume of water. And so through automation and through larger scale, we can continue to tell our provenance story about Spencer Gulf, but triple production again within Spencer Gulf from 10 to 20 to 30,000 tonnes. And that's truly exciting because as we move through that level, we'll not only be the highest quality producer, but also the lowest cost producer and able to distribute that product and sell our provenance story all around the world. And the reason why Spencer Gulf is so important, you really need to understand a little bit about the biology of this species and the water in which we grow. So as I said before, we're growing a native species in its native waters. Seriola landi breeds and grows to maturity in the water of the Spencer Gulf. Now, the Spencer Gulf is quite a seasonal water temperature. The water temperature is above 20 degrees in the summer and it's below 15 degrees in the winter. And we believe, and our taste testing and our quality assessments, we believe confirm that that cold period in the winter is what's required to give this product its firmness of texture, its taste, and its high quality. The warmer months is when you get the growth. So the fish get larger in the warmer months, and we believe they put on quality in the cooler months. Now, it is possible to grow this species more quickly in warm water all year round. And that's what the tank farms do. And you might have seen the Kingfish Company sort of listing before Christmas. They believe in a faster warm water grow out. We believe in a slower, higher quality grow out. And we believe that quality is hugely important, not just for high-end restaurants where that quality gets you on the menu, but it's also important for retail. When someone's taking a portion and taking it home and cooking it themselves, they still want a high quality result. And that's why we grow this fish in its native waters for the quality. And we believe our scale and our production techniques and our operations will also deliver the lowest cost production as well, which really makes us uniquely positioned to take advantage of this species as it emerges. You'll see a little bit here around our certifications and about our high quality awards. We consistently win awards for best fish, best retail fish, as well as our certifications. But a very exciting thing about our story is how we own the supply chain. And so we grow that Spencer Gulf provenance in the cold water, and we use liquid nitrogen to freeze that down. And that means that we can take a sashimi grade fish and send it all around the world using a frozen supply footprint. And that means that we have the advantages of cost and quality sending this product all around the world. What that means is that a restaurant or a consumer can defrost that product and eat it raw as a sashimi grade offering while enjoying all of the benefits of a low carbon footprint and low cost of production that a frozen supply chain brings. But part of our partnership is also about offering choice to consumers and being able to offer a ready to consume product in any market in the world. And the way that we do that is through owning not only the freezing process, but also the opportunity in certain markets and certain channels to own the defrosting process as well. And that means that we can take Spencer Gulf provenance, freeze it down, send it all around the world with low carbon footprint and low cost, and then defrost that product using ice fresh technology. And we have exclusive access for this species to ice fresh technology to be able to defrost that down to a ready to consume product and offer not just a frozen product or not just a fresh product, but offer a refreshed product ready to consume with a low carbon footprint and a low cost of production. And so overall, in summary, I guess, we have sustainability at our core, but this business is truly uniquely positioned in terms of its scale and as an inflection point in terms of sales and volumes and farming efficiencies. We have unique provenance growing this native species in its native waters, which gives us high quality and the clean seas that we're renowned for. We have unparalleled access in terms of market access, leadership positions in Australia and in Europe, and partnership access through Hofseth to major distribution channels in Europe, in North America and in Asia, and also the access and the benefit of farming knowledge of Hofseth. And really, it's a unique and untapped market potential that we have for this species. And ultimately, we believe that it's a sustainable, high quality and flexible alternative to farmed salmon. So I might leave the presentation there and take any questions.
Yes, Rob, we've got a few questions emailed to us, and it's still opportunity for those that want to do that to ask questions either on Facebook or email them to XtraInvestor. So I will try to raise those questions to you, Rob, and read them for the discussion now. The first question is, what is the value of the fish you have in inventory, plus the fish you got in sea, if you assume the normalized environment?
Yeah, we have about 70 million Australian dollars of fish at the moment. And so if you think about our balance sheet, it really does just reflect the value of our fish at the moment. And so the exciting thing, I guess, about our potential is as this species grows, there is an opportunity, I guess, in terms of valuation to reflect the opportunity and the IP and the future benefit of this business, not just the benefit and the value of fish at sea and in the freezer at the moment.
Yeah. What is, if you look forward to 2022, what is a fair or reasonable price assumption for the kingfish per kilo, if you look at beyond?
So we're obviously a global business, and because we're doing 3,000 tonnes and selling that product all around the world, we use distribution partners to sell that product. And so we would see, a reasonable price expectation for this fish to be somewhere around about 20% premium to farm salmon in terms of the retail price. And that would deliver us, even with, the use of partners around the world, something in the order of sort of $17 or $18 of revenue per kilo back to Clean Seas once those partners have taken their margin.
Okay, so you expect that prices will come up and that will render a good margin?
Well, that's definitely what we've seen in the past. So this is a truly remarkable species, and obviously we're great believers in the species, and we see huge price elasticity for this species as well. So really, all we have to do and all we focus on to market this fish is encouraging people to trial, encouraging chefs to try it, encouraging supermarkets to try it, encouraging customers to try it. And so we invest in that launch through price and through activation. But what we see once people have an awareness of the species and a love for the species, we see great price elasticity. And so what we've seen in the past is, substantial increases in price as well as increases in volume.
Yeah, I guess another question that we got here that's related to that pricing. Is it fair to assume an EBIT margin of $5 per kilo once you've got up to scale the first stage of your growth plan, say 5 years' time?
Yeah, as you saw that sort of chart, really, once we, have an efficient sort of allocation of working capital and the right amount of biomass relative to sales, we see about a $15 per kilo total EBIT cost, which would allow a couple of dollars of EBIT margin at that price point that I mentioned before. And then at scale through larger sort of business, sort of increased use of automation, selective breeding, we see that price or cost per kilo coming down to about 12. And so yes, $5 would be a very reasonable expectation for profit per kilo at sort of 4, 8, 10,000 tonnes.
Yeah, there is obviously some interest in your PE or listed PE of the Kingfish company that you also mentioned during your presentation. Can you elaborate on the difference in pricing between Clean Seas and the Kingfish company, and why are they different?
Well, look, I think that really reflects the global nature of our business. So as I said before, we sell our product all around the world. And the revenue that we take for that product reflects the supply chain of sending product all around the world. Our Australian business, our domestic business here in Australia, which I guess is sort of similar to Kingfish Company's European business, is more of a direct model. And in our home market, our price point is more like $18 or $19 a kilogram. So I think the total cost, or the difference rather, reflects the global model.
You mentioned Hofseth International and the partnership with them, sales-wise. Was these equity issues a function of the pickup in growth you've seen since you partnered with Hofseth?
Look, they've very much been able to get us from very small volumes to substantial volumes in a very short amount of time. And as I said before, since this partnership, we've already sold 400 tonnes to Hofseth North America, which is that's the total production of many of our peer producers. And so that just gives you an idea of the sort of scale that we can get quickly using partners that have the reach of Hofseth. And so that's the truly exciting thing for Clean Seas is we already had market leadership positions in Australia and Europe, and we have now in Hofseth a partner that can take us credibly to large volumes in North America and in Asia.
You already mentioned that the reduction in unit costs. Can you elaborate more on the most important steps to reduce those costs?
So the main difference between our production cost today and $15 is just an efficient use of working capital. And what I mean by that is, the fish that we have in the water, that extra 1,600 tonnes of fish in the water and in the freezer comes with a cost. And so the difference between $20 and $15 is just about efficient allocation of working capital. So as our sales continue to grow and as we continue to sort of see these record sales, we see that working capital unwind and we'll see our cost of production go from $20 to $15. That's quite an easy step, and it doesn't need investment or capital or a change in the way we do things. The next step after that is about scale and the economies of scale and the benefits of scale. And so really it's just about selling and selling excess inventory for the next 6 or 12 months to go from 20 to 15, and then scale from 3 to 4 to 5,000 tons to go to $12. And so, we think we'll be at that cost of production very quickly over the next few years, which is truly exciting because it means that we'll not only be the highest quality producer with a global distribution, but also we believe the lowest cost producer as well, which positions us uniquely as this species continues to grow.
You showed us a graph of the impact of the COVID-19 restrictions and the closing. Can you elaborate a bit more on how the markets in Australia have opened up post-COVID? It's been better there. How fast? What are people consuming first? And further, what do you expect in the US when things are opening up there?
So when the restrictions hit in Australia, like everywhere in the world, the restaurants shut. More or less the restaurants shut their doors and our sales dropped off. And so we very quickly refocused our business on those restaurants that were doing home takeaways, those restaurants that were doing home meal kit deliveries, specialty retail consumers, supermarkets, fish shops and the like. And that's why we saw our sales drop off very quickly, but also come back up very quickly in Australia. Now, what we've had in Australia, we've been very lucky. With lockdowns, we haven't had the same sort of rates of COVID as the rest of the world has had. And so our restaurants have started to open already. And so the reason why we're doing record sales in Australia and substantially more sales in Australia that we were doing pre-COVID is all of those new markets and channels that we opened in Australia have stayed there, and the restaurants have come back and been incremental on top of that. And that tight correlation is what gets us really excited about Europe. And I know you guys have been doing it much tougher there than we have, but hopefully with the rollout of the vaccine, and as you come into your summer months, we see those restaurants reopen again, and we expect that same phenomenon to occur in Europe in the coming months. And so very exciting for us is not just the high volume opportunities through Hofseth in North America and Asia, but really an incremental business in our existing markets in Australia and in Europe, which we think will sort of power us to those higher levels of volumes quite quickly over the next 6 or 12 months.
So what you're saying is essentially that the very tough COVID-19 situation has actually helped you build new distribution in new channels.
Well, I don't think any of us will sit around and say COVID is a good thing. We're all, it's been highly disruptive for our business. But I think we will come out of it with a sort of a fast track into new markets and channels that we otherwise wouldn't have had. And having that excess inventory available for immediate sale has meant that we've been able to very much, fast track and use that as an opportunity to get into some of these volume markets. And so, I think, we would have, in all other things being equal, we would have preferred not to have COVID, but actually we come out of it very strongly because of the opportunities that it's presented.
Can you elaborate more about timing, reaching the first 10,000 tons? So your growth plan, what's the lead time until you get that new production out in the market?
Look, I think it's hard to be exactly sort of sure on terms of timing, but what you can see is the growth of this species over the last few years and the growth of clean seas in the last 6 months in terms of how incremental growth has come through and how we're sort of seeing record sales. The important thing, I think, Morten, there is that we are uniquely positioned to take advantage of the upside in this species as it occurs. We have the licenses in place, we have the low cost of capital, we have the high quality, and we have the low production cost. That means, as this species emerges, we can move very quickly and grow juveniles to a harvest size and make them available for these markets as they grow, which is very exciting.
Yeah. And then I guess it's difficult for yourself to be even more specific on the 30,000 ton target. And when will you reach that, and what does it take?
Well, yeah, I think it depends on the growth in this species. But as again, we're looking at the per capita consumption. If you look at 80 grams for Australia and think that that's the second largest consumption of kingfish outside of Japan, and that Atlantic salmon is 1,500 tons or 1,500 grams or 2,000 grams plus, you get an idea of how quickly that potential could be realized.
Can you explain us why you're now doing this dual listing and why Oslo?
Well, look, we are a global business, so we sell our product all around the world. Pre-COVID, half of our distribution was in Australia, which is where we're currently listed, and 40% of our distribution was in Europe. And so we think there's a great and growing awareness of this species in Europe, and the potential of this species, is exciting to be out talking to investors. But as I said at the beginning, we believe that Norway is the preeminent investment community for this species. I think we've seen some awareness, a greater awareness for this species in consumers, and also with the listing of our peers, greater awareness in terms of investment community as well. And so I think the opportunity for us is to tell the story and to explain the opportunity in a market and within an investment community that truly understands aquaculture.
Is your intention only to produce in Australia, or are you considering doing land-based farming? Will you be in Australia? Yeah.
No, look, I think we need to be true to our provenance in South Australia, and I think we need to be true to the quality benefits that we believe that cold water farming gives us. And so we've concentrated on being the lowest cost producer in our own waters, and then using things like ice fresh and sensory fresh technology to ensure that we can export that high quality product at a low cost and with a low carbon footprint anywhere in the world. And so we don't see a need to farm on land or to farm in warm water when we can take a cost leadership position as well as a quality leadership position by farming in Spencer Gulf.
Yeah, and that means also that you will not have, or you do not have, any processing facilities in Europe and the US.
No, we can consolidate our processing and centralize our processing and offer a product that is frozen, fresh, or refreshed in any market in the world, again at low cost and low carbon footprint.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on this license for the ice fresh technology? Why that technology is unique? Is the quality as good as fresh? Do the retailers or restaurants need to have specific equipment to defrost the fish?
No, look, I mean, as you know, Morten, this technology is truly exciting because it delivers a better than fresh quality, we believe, because of the elapsed, sort of supply chain from from freezing to defrosting. And the technology is also very flexible. It could live in a supermarket, it could live in a distribution center, or it could live in our distributor's warehouse and defrost fish to order. And so the great benefit is quality, the great benefit is carbon footprint, but also the great benefit is less waste because it is only defrosted to order or as required. And so you don't have the same shelf life considerations that you would have with a fresh product.
Okay, final question, I think. Can you say something about your shareholder base? What type of investors have you attracted through this placing?
Well, our largest investor existing was Bonafide and their global fish funds, and we think we know Bonafide to be the sort of the largest investor in sustainable aquaculture, and so obviously they know aquaculture, and we're very proud to have them as our number one shareholder. Number two is Hofseth, and so again that strategic partnership around production and distribution, and our number two shareholder. Great to have them on the register. And I guess this placement has uncovered a large number of very sophisticated investors, not just in Australia, but also in Norway. And so, I think the people that were attracted to this story are people that understand aquaculture, understand the future of sustainable protein production, and also understand the opportunity that this species gives us, or this species has, in that context, and as a really credible, sustainable, high quality alternative to farm salmon.
Good. I think those were all the questions today.
Well, thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Morten, for moderating. Great pleasure to speak to you today, and we're very much looking forward to virtually, at least, ringing the bell on the OSE later this week. So thank you very much, and have a nice day.